Welcome to the Morning Edition Extra. I'm Adelmi Ruiz, coming to you from Alaska's News Sources Digital Desk. Happy Wednesday, everyone, and thank you for starting off your morning with Alaska's News Source. Starting us off, we have meteorologist Aaron Morrison, who's going to give us a breakdown over what our day is going to look like as temperatures aren't as cold as they used to be. Aaron.
Beginning to see many areas of the state where those temperatures are about 20 to 30 degrees warmer than yesterday. We're at 19 below in McGrath, 25 below in Fairbanks, 15 degrees currently in Anchorage. And then as you head along the slope, those temperatures are sitting at about 20 to 30 below. Still holding on to those sub-zero values, but temperatures across the state have been warming. Now, as you head across western Alaska, as well as the Bering and the Aleutians, we got this persistent north to northeasterly flow. This will continue to keep areas of the Aleutians on the cold side, but as you head through the Gulf Coast region, for both southeast as well as south central, we've got these winds coming in out of the southwest. That's beginning to drive in some of those warmer conditions. So we're 14 degrees warmer in Anchorage, 33 degrees warmer in McGrath, and 20 degrees warmer in Fairbanks. Even along the slope, temperatures are about 5 to 10 degrees warmer. So while we're still holding on to some sub-zero values, this is that push of warmer air we've been talking about, and we'll really see that surge arriving as we welcome in our Thursday and Friday across the state. Now, we've still got a trio of lows in the Gulf Coast region. Of course, one just north of Kodiak will keep some light snow building through south central through the day, where we're going to see some of that heaviest snowfall accumulation for your Wednesday falling through the Mat-Su Valley. But of course, as you head out towards southeast, you can see rain for the most part, not as widespread as what we did see yesterday. Of course, we'll continue to hold on to some of that snowfall across south central, but the good news is southeast, you will see some improving conditions here over the next couple of days. In fact, by the weekend, much drier weather is to be expected across southeast. However, with those temperatures continuing to remain warm, we'll continue to see some additional snow melt, which will lead to some of those minor flooding concerns. So that's what we're going to continue to see across the southeast. Meanwhile, across south central, when it comes to that snowfall potential, today we may pick up an inch or so of that snow accumulation for Anchorage, higher amounts as you head into the valley. But from Thursday on into Friday, this is that next system we're watching, keying in on the potential that we could see about 2 to 5 inches of snowfall accumulation, but rain will mix in at the surface as we welcome in our Thursday evening and Friday. So that could eat into our snowfall totals, but that will also lead to some impacts on the roadways. We'll also see that push of warmer air building into the interior as well. Now, snowfall across the state has seen some improving conditions as we transitioned into January. If you remember, December was a very dry month across Anchorage, while Juneau did see that record-breaking snowfall. But that push of warmer air already beginning to nose its way into south central, and then you can see through the rest of the state as we welcome in Thursday, there's that push of warmer air that's eroding away those colder conditions, pushing it north of the Brooks Range. You can even see out towards western and southwest Alaska. We'll see a push of those warmer conditions as well. And that will lead to some concerns for the interior as well, more so the central interior. Friday, those temperatures are sitting at 23 degrees. However, with that warm nose aloft, we could see some rain mixing in at the surface. So be prepared for the chance that Friday could bring some wintry mix in the forecast before transitioning back to some snow as those temperatures fall back down into the teens. And we're also going to be watching that chance for some mix across south central Thursday and Friday as those temperatures warm near to above freezing, dry into the weekend, and you can see those temperatures drop back down into the mid-20s as we welcome in next week. Still warm considering where we have been sitting at, but Thursday and Friday is the day to watch across south central for that rain snow mix.
All right, thank you, Aaron. And those dangerous avalanche conditions stretch from Anchorage to Seward right now. Chugach State Park is urging people to stay off steep slopes. Georgina Fernandez went to Glen Alps to see just how unstable the snow really is.
Just walking through the snow, you quickly sink in.
There's a couple feet of snow over there.
As we look for the perfect spot.
Just based on quick ski pole probing, it seems deep enough.
To check the snow stability here at Glen Alps.
And as soon as we dig through that layer, this older layer, it's almost a different color and a different texture. It's got these really big, kind of weak, sugary grains.
This right here is weak snow, not what you want to be on right now, as that fresh snowfall Anchorage got earlier this month is now adding more stress to it.
even though the loading event has passed, the structure is still there of just a weak base and really hard, heavy snow on top of that.
Right now, we are seeing avalanche dangers from here in Anchorage all the way down to Seward. With human-triggered avalanches really being concerned, it can actually trigger one of those avalanches even if you're 200 feet away.
There's this feeling of just wanting to get out, wanting to do lots of stuff, but the snowpack is telling us a different story.
Starting with taps from the wrist.
The test speaks for itself.
So that's a failure on 2, the second tap from the wrist, which is like a really unstable result.
Right now, Chugach State Park is advising people to avoid avalanche terrain and sticking to slopes 30 degrees and under. You should also make sure terrain is not connected to larger slopes above you.
So people have been traveling in low-angle terrain that is an avalanche terrain and remotely triggering something above them because they were connected to a slope that was steeper.
Little steps that carry a big impact. Georgina Fernandez, Alaska's news source.
Freezing temperatures and heavy snow brought Fairbanks services to a standstill earlier this month. Trash collection is expected to be back on a normal schedule today, but the city's work is far from over. Crews are now launching a major snow removal push in neighborhoods, targeting specific subdivisions through the weekend to widen roads and clear out remaining drifts.
We plan on being in the Slater subdivision and also picking up the Brant subdivisions as far as snow removal, moving on to Town Site, which is east of the core, and then down into Beer Mark following that on Saturday.
We're told crews will move into the Aurora neighborhood starting next week. We are reminded to have cars off the street by 7:30 a.m. on your scheduled day. And a body was found in downtown Anchorage last night, prompting a police investigation. That's according to APD. The Anchorage Fire Department confirmed they responded to the scene at 4th Avenue and F Street near the Visit Anchorage log cabin around 5:30. A reporter on scene verified the body was that of an adult man, but APD would not provide any information beyond that, citing an active investigation. And a 25-year-old man from Houston, last heard from during a solo trip to Fairbanks, has now been missing for weeks. His friends say he never talked about coming to Alaska, and as time keeps ticking, their fears are growing. Charlie Fellows has the story.
I mean, in my conversations with him, we never had a conversations with Alaska or anything like that.
The friends of Hari Karasani aren't quite sure why he decided to take an impromptu solo trip to Alaska in late December.
So recently he completed his master's, so I thought maybe he wanted a vacation. We thought maybe that's why he went solo on this trip, but we did not notice anything unusual.
The 25-year-old from India is living in Houston, Texas, while pursuing his PhD. His friends describe him as quiet, soft-spoken, a good roommate, but not necessarily an adventurer.
I don't recall myself traveling for a recreational thing or anything like this before. So this is the first time he went all by himself.
What they do know is that on December 22nd, Karasani flew from Houston to Fairbanks for a solo trip, telling friends and family he'd be back home in a couple weeks.
30th of December, early morning, I called him and we spoke. And he also mentioned that he will be back to Houston on 4th or 5th. After that, we don't have any contact.
No one has heard from Karasani since that call, which was late at night on December 29th, Alaska time. 4 days later, a missing person report was filed. In the days after contact with Karasani was lost, temperatures in Healy, where he was staying, dipped as low as 42 degrees below zero, something his friends fear he may not have been prepared for.
There's too much cold over there, and we are very much worried about that.
His friends say they've been in contact with Alaska State Troopers, but are unsure what the next steps in the search operation are. All the while, time keeps ticking.
Thinking about his parents is a very, very, emotional thing for me. And yeah, I cannot express myself in that.
Charlie Fellows, Alaska's news source.
If anyone has any information, check out our website for the number to call to speak to Alaska State Troopers. And Anchorage is about to put big money questions in front of voters. Millions of dollars in bonds were on the agenda at the first meeting of the Anchorage Assembly yesterday evening. The Assembly is moving toward an April ballot packed with bond proposals and a new school tax levy. Joe Allgood breaks down what could cost property owners more and where the money could go.
Tuesday's meeting gives us a glance at what may be on April's ballot, including several bond proposals and a tax levy for the Anchorage School District, as well as the possible shelving of a sales tax. The 8 bond proposals on the agenda would pay for improvements in areas like public safety, transit, parks, trails, roads, storm drainage, fire service, and fire protection, if they pass. Ultimately, much of those costs will go to property taxpayers, though proponents say the cost is necessary to maintain municipal services.
It is true that the Anchorage taxpayer pays a high proportion relative to other communities in property tax, but taken as a whole, Anchorage taxpayers have the lowest tax burden in the country of any major city in any state.
The school bond was the only one up for a vote on Tuesday, totaling as much as $79.4 million in bonds. The proposal passed in a vote of 9-3. It will now be on the ballot in April. In addition to that bond, Mayor Suzanne LaFrance officially introduced her proposal for a $12 million tax levy to support Anchorage schools. LaFrance says the cost to taxpayers comes out to roughly $100 for the average home. In return, she moved to postpone her sales tax proposal.
This is a critical and unique opportunity that I believe we should focus on for the April election. I ask the members to join me in that focus and support this motion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The next meeting of the Assembly will be the last one in which they can vote on what's on April's ballot, so we're right on the brink of election season. Joe Allgood, Alaska's news source.
And the avalanche crisis in southeast Alaska is getting worse, with the latest storm hitting Juneau last night. Barron's subdivision is still under an avalanche evacuation advisory, with risks increasing into the morning hours, and Thane Road is shut down. The avalanche gates are down due to the high avalanche hazard. This is an emergency closure, and it was reevaluated at 6 a.m. this morning, with the road being, state officials say, if an avalanche hits, it may be too dangerous to even clear the debris. For the latest updates, check 511.alaska.gov. And a man who state prosecutors say exposed and touched himself in front of a 4-year-old girl in a hot tub at Alaska Club's South location was sentenced yesterday. This is 43-year-old Natchez Dunlap. He was arrested in April of 2024, 3 weeks after Anchorage police put a warrant out for his arrest. He has since pled guilty to indecent exposure in the first degree. The court found a disturbing pattern where Dunlap repeatedly put himself into situations with unsupervised children and also made concerning comments about female officers. Dunlap was sentenced to 6 years with 3 years suspended and 5 years probation. And the Anchorage School District says last month it addressed a serious safety incident at Bartlett High School. The school district says a handgun was discovered inside a student's backpack on December 11th. Police say one juvenile student was charged. Bartlett's principal stressed that at no point were students or staff in any danger, and there was no interruption of classes. In response, the district temporarily deployed metal detectors and conducted random searches on campus. Those measures are no longer in place. The school district says the incident remains under active investigation. An Anchorage psychiatrist is facing 16 felonies. Lina Bautista billed nearly $190,000 for patient visits that never happened. The investigation started in 2020 when an Alaska state trooper noticed his daughter was billed for meetings with Bautista, but the psychiatrist never saw her. Investigators reviewed 50 days of her billing records. They say 100% of those claims were fraudulent. In one case, she billed seeing patients in Anchorage, while her phone records showed she was actually in Las Vegas. Bautista appeared in court yesterday for arraignment. She is not in custody. And now taking you over to John Thompson, our own John Thompson, and our Washington correspondent Emma Wolfers as they discuss what is going on in the government today and this week.
Well, President Donald Trump was in Detroit, Michigan, talking economy and manufacturing. Alaska's news source Washington correspondent Emma Wolfers joins us from D.C. Emma, what did the president have to say?
Well, John, he spoke for about an hour yesterday, running the gamut from the economy to domestic politics and foreign policy. He's been trying to counter fears from the American public about a weakening job market and still high prices. He talked about growth, inflation, and what he says is sickening policy from the Fed, adding, quote, "We have a real stiff in the Fed, but that's for another day. That jerk will be gone soon," end quote. Those comments from the president come as his administration's criminal investigation into Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell has sparked backlash over the past few days. The president also hit Tuesday on fraud in Minnesota. He vented about Republicans who he says have gone against him, as well as his administration's actions in Venezuela. This speech took place at the Detroit Economic Club, and Tuesday's trip also included a tour of a Ford factory.
The president told Iranian protesters help is on the way. Human rights groups estimate more than 1,800 protesters have been killed in Iran over the last couple of weeks. Emma, what's the latest from the Trump administration there?
John, we don't know the details of what exactly this help could entail, but top cabinet officials, including Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, met here in Washington Tuesday morning to discuss next steps in Iran. President Trump has not ruled out military action in the country. We know the government there has shut down the internet, which has made it difficult to determine exactly what's happening on the ground and how many citizens have been killed. But the president said Tuesday night he was expecting a report on the exact number of protesters who have been killed. It's also not immediately clear what military action could look like in Iran, but Trump has encouraged people in the streets to keep protesting. He also announced a 25% tariff on any country doing business with Iran and canceled previously scheduled meetings with Iranian officials.
All right, talking Capitol Hill, House Republicans, are threatening to hold both Bill and Hillary Clinton in contempt.
John, this comes after Bill Clinton failed to show up for a scheduled deposition Tuesday as part of the House Oversight Committee's investigation into Epstein. House Republicans claim this is about accountability and unanswered questions. Democrats across the aisle are calling it a distraction. The GOP says they could take action as soon as next week to hold the former president in contempt of Congress. The committee chair also warned former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton could be held in contempt as well if she doesn't testify today. Both Clintons were subpoenaed last August, along with several former government officials. In a letter, attorneys for the Clintons said they've already provided what information they have and argue the subpoenas are invalid and unenforceable. They do say the Clintons are willing to certify previous statements they've made.
All right, and finally, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments, 2 cases about transgender girls participating in women's sports. What could these cases mean for other laws, and did the justices give any indication of where they're leaning?
This is kind of the latest in a much larger national conversation about transgender rights, and these 2 cases in particular tee up the more general issue of whether sex discrimination includes gender identity. Two athletes challenged state laws in Idaho and West Virginia, which ban transgender girls from participating in sports that match their gender identity. A ruling for these states would effectively then apply to the other 24 Republican-led states with similar bans on female trans athletes. The outcome of these cases could also influence separate legal efforts by the Trump administration to bar trans student athletes in other states. The justices here will decide whether the Idaho and West Virginia state bans violate Title IX and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The justices did appear ready to uphold the state bans after oral arguments Tuesday. The court's conservative majority has repeatedly ruled against transgender Americans in the past. We expect a decision by sometime in June.
Our Alaska's News Source Washington correspondent Emma Wolfhorst informing us from D.C. Emma, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And another day of testimony in the Adrian Gonzales trial Monday brought jurors face to face with the immediate aftermath of the Uvalde school shooting. Jordan Elder has more on the legal strategies that are starting to emerge on both sides of this trial.
The defense's line of questioning Monday centered around tactics. Would it have been a death trap for Adrian Gonzales to enter Robb Elementary before forming a plan?
So bad tactics would be expecting an officer to get close to a wall, right, and to make that turn from that cover position.
That could be considered a bad day, yes, sir.
The defense is consistently bringing up this idea of a fatal funnel, which is where an officer is vulnerable or could be targeted. In this case, it could be a place like a hallway where you're left very open. They say this is a big deal when it comes to tactics. Attorney Nico LaHood telling Texas Ranger Scott Swick that there were 3 other officers on scene before the shooter entered the school, one with a long rifle.
You know now what happened. You know that that animal shot at children and shot at police officers.
Correct.
And that animal is no longer on this earth.
Correct.
And Adrian Gonzales is not that person who did all that horror that we saw on those terrible pictures, right?
Adrian is not Salvador.
That's an argument we've seen them make almost every day so far. Is the shooter responsible for this, or is Adrian Gonzales? The prosecution trying to prove that officers should have gone in quickly.
So you would make a move one way or another?
I would like to think I would, yes, sir.
You wouldn't stay?
I don't believe I would, no, sir.
You wouldn't wait for cover?
I would not in that scenario.
Wait for other officers to arrive?
No, sir.
That same line of questioning also used on Texas Ranger Terry Snyder earlier in the day.
When you hear the shooting as a police officer, you have to find where the shooting's coming from.
Correct.
And is that something you can just take your time to do, or is it an immediate action?
You make a tactical approach to where the shootings occur.
And is that a direct requirement?
Yes.
That tidbit about other officers being on scene so early will likely come up again. The question being who had the best access to stop the shooter and who did or did not make the move to stop him.
And we are going to take a really short break right now, so we'll be right back after these couple of messages. And we are back. So our next story, college football programs have been on the hook for more than $1 billion in buyouts since 2004. Money paid for coaches not to coach. And this past season shattered records, more than $200 million written into fired coaches' contracts. National investigative reporter Chris Nakamoto investigates this buyout boom.
It's game day at the Grove in Oxford, Mississippi.
I think it was a terrible decision. Thought he was a better guy.
Lane Kiffin's dramatic departure at the end of 2025 shook college football fans across America as teams chase gridiron glory. That's because he replaced one of the 15 head coaches fired in 2025 with contracted buyouts worth a total of $228 million. The top listed buyout amount of the year at LSU, Kiffin's new turf.
This is my responsibility.
That fired coach, Brian Kelly, who was abruptly fired following an abysmal performance of the Tigers against Texas A&M, losing 49-25 in October. But his buyout to leave, $54 million, the second largest in college football history. And that wasn't the only buyout LSU was on the hook for. It also had to send money over to Oxford. Built into Kiffin's new contract, LSU paid hundreds of thousands to Ole Miss for his buyout and playoff wins. Plus, his new contract with LSU is now the second highest in college football, worth $91 million.
The coaches have all the leverage right now, whether they're leaving or coming in.
David Ridpath is a professor of sports business at Ohio University, a university that just terminated its football coach for cause in December. Brian Smith is now demanding a $2.5 million buyout after the university sent him packing.
The school is saying they're not going to pay the buyout. I think eventually they're going to have to. Here, it gets a little bit more acute because tuition and fees do go up when athletic expenses go up, and it does really affect the student. And our students are charged just in athletics alone well over $1,000 a year in student fees just to athletics, and you extrapolate that out with student loan debt. Once they hear this, they're like, well, hold on a second, now it is affecting me.
Our national investigative team looked at coaching data around the country and found the staggering $228 million in contracted buyouts in 2025 broke records for the largest buyouts in college athletics. Our team crunched the numbers and found 2025 buyouts could fund the entire 1,700 student freshman class at Harvard, one of America's most prestigious Ivy League colleges.
Again, it's spend, spend, and spend, and it's not managing those dollars like the rest of the university has to do. So it's about time we figure out a way, and working through Congress is a way to force college athletics programs to manage their revenue better.
In 2025, the SEC was on the hook for at least $138 million for 5 coaches not to work. Brian Kelly's buyout, $54 million. Kentucky's Mark Stoops, $38 million. Florida's Billy Napier, $21 million. Followed by Auburn's Hugh Freeze at nearly $16 million. And Arkansas's Sam Pittman, $9.3 million.
Winning in football is probably too over-important, but it is very important in the SEC. And so no surprise, if you don't win in the SEC, you're not going to last very long. Not that that's right, but that is the culture that is set.
The buyouts are made possible through mega contracts, ultimately leaving the university on the hook. That money is sometimes paid for by private donors or athletic foundations, like in Brian Kelly's case.
Private money becomes state money. Just because it's privately donated doesn't mean that that is a free-for-all that can be just given to coaches and that's your get-out-of-jail-free card. All money is state money.
Ridpath believes Congress is the only hope to rein in bloated spending.
I hate to say we have to rely on the government for anything, but it's where we are, Chris. And I think we're going to have national standards to bring some sanity back to college athletics.
There's no way a coach should be able to leave a team in the middle of the year to go, especially to an in-conference rival. It's ridiculous.
Back at the Grove, many rebels echo Ridpath's demand for reform. Lane Kiffin's abrupt exit has fans buzzing as a painful sting of betrayal lingers.
I don't care for him. I hope he's unsuccessful.
He made us better by leaving because now we are one instead of him.
In October, U.S. Representative Michael Baumgardner of Washington introduced a bill that would limit annual compensation and cap buyouts of any athletic department employee. The measure was introduced in the House and referred to the House Committee on Education, where it sits now. And according to a new Wallet Hub survey, 42% of Americans admitted to keeping financial secrets from those close to them. In this Watching Your Wallet, consumer investigator Rachel DePompa talks to an expert at Wallet Hub about these findings.
Look at this. John Brittingham stops traffic with one hand and scoops up two toddlers along busy A1A Sunday in Brevard County.
I was terrified. If anything would have happened to him, the rest of my life would have been ruined.
John was driving home southbound on A1A when he noticed two little girls in the middle of the road.
So I immediately pulled over there.
Excuse me for that, my mic was off, but it is back on now. So that was definitely the wrong video. We do not have the right video in our lineup this morning. I apologize for that. I will have it for you tomorrow morning. So this next story, a Florida man saved the day recently when he spotted two small children in the middle of a road and ran into traffic to get the kids out of harm's way. As Gail Parshall Brown reports, the toddler's family had no idea they had gotten out of their backyard at the time.
Look at this. John Brittingham stops traffic with one hand and scoops up two toddlers along busy A1A Sunday in Brevard County.
I was terrified. If anything would have happened to him, the rest of my life would have been ruined.
John was driving home southbound on A1A when he noticed two little girls in the middle of the road.
So I immediately pulled over there, and I ran out of the car, and one of them was already to the middle of the road. And I grabbed that one first, and then the second one I just picked up. She was ready, and I got him off the road. Took like maybe 6 seconds.
It had to be the most terrifying 6 seconds of his life.
My adrenaline spiked. I had a migraine when I finally got home. I was drained completely for the rest of the day.
This exclusive dash cam video is from his vehicle's front and rear cameras.
You can see in the dash cam, she put her little arms up, and I was like, oh my God. How adorable.
He then went looking for their parents, found this Airbnb, knocked on the door, but no one answered.
So I went all around that house, and no one seemed to hear me yelling, like that I was calling for someone to see if anybody knew, because the girls weren't telling me anything. They were about maybe 2 years old or younger, and all they could do was point to things and say,
Finally, he looked in the back gate, which he says was open. He adds that's how the children got out, and their parents were clueless to the fact they were gone.
An elderly couple and a young girl, and I, immediately they went into like, oh my God, we're so sorry. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm just glad I could get them back to you. And they were out in the road, and your gate was open.
John did not call police.
My main concern was to reunite them, and by that time I was, glad that they were with their parents.
Are you a fan of Lego? How about Pokemon? How about Lego Pokemon? Lego is interlocking with the Pokemon universe. The toy giant has unveiled its first ever line of Pokemon sets, marking a major crossover between two of the largest play brands in the world. The first collection will debut on February 27th, and it's inspired by characters throughout Pokemon's 3-decade history. The initial rollout features 5 fan favorites: Pikachu, Eevee, Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise. Pre-orders can be made now at lego.com. And here's a wild question for you. Have you ever had the desire to have a 5-gallon bucket full of delicious movie theater popcorn? I know I have. Who hasn't, right? Well, that dream can be a reality. Cinemark is celebrating National Popcorn Day coming up soon with a Bring Your Own Bucket special. For just $5, you can bring whatever whatever bucket you want. Include Lowe's iconic 5-gallon blue buckets and get your popcorn fix on Sunday, January 18th and Monday, January 19th. If you bring a Lowe's blue bucket, you'll also get a special coupon for future popcorn savings. Well, I know where I'm going to be on January 18th. I'm so excited for this. And is it too soon for Easter? Or at least Easter daydreams, perhaps, but not for Peeps. For the 2026 Easter season, Peeps brand is reimagining Easter traditions once again with a new lineup full of new and unique flavors, fun collaborations, and featuring fan favorites. New to the lineup this year are Peeps Pop-Tarts Frosted Strawberry, which will be available nationwide, Peeps Chili Lime Mango, available only at Kroger brand stores, and Peeps Sunny D flavor, which will be exclusive to Target brand stores. Well, I am very excited for the chili lime mango. One thing, in case you didn't know this about me, is I love anything chili lime. So those chili lime Peeps have my name written on them. And also those Pop-Tarts Frosted Strawberry, those sound absolutely delicious. I think these are them right now that we're seeing. How exciting, these brand new Peeps for Easter. We get a little taste of it early on in our year. And that is it for the Morning Edition Extra for this wonderful Wednesday morning. Thank you so much for joining me and for starting off your day with us here at Alaska's News Source. I'm Adelmi Ruiz, and have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you again here at noon.